What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode, and we are here to talk about Netflix's The Sandman, based off the famous comic book by Neil. Those of you that might know him, he's actually the creator of American Gods. Yeah, so essentially, the premise of the show is this: we follow Morpheus, the god of sleep, aka the Endless One, and a cult is trying to capture Death. And the cult is trying to capture Death because they want to bring their family members who have passed back to life. They invoke a ritual and incantation to capture Death and to bend Death to their will. In the process of doing that, you have Morpheus, who is in the real world as he is trying to capture a renegade nightmare. And just when he's about to capture the renegade nightmare, aka the Corinthian, he is then captured himself. So the ritual goes wrong and he is captured. It's once they have obtained Morpheus, who they believe is Death, they wish to essentially strike a bargain. But because he is not who they think he is, he cannot do anything. And so what ends up happening is that he ends up being a prisoner. He's held for damn near a century, so 100 years he's held in captivity. But also when they captured him, he had 3 items of great power that he possesses. One being his helm, another being his sand, and the third being his gem. Each possession has unique powers and abilities. They don't really go into much about what his helm can do. We do know that the gem can grant your heart's desire. So any dream that you want to come true, the gem can make that happen. And then the sand, again, it's not really again expressed what the sand can actually do. We do know that the sand has the ability to transport Morpheus to any place he wishes, and also it allows him to enter dreams and affect and influence dreams in a way. Like, that's essentially like the premise. So after a century of being captured, he eventually gets his freedom. I say gets his freedom. He escapes. He's now trying to acquire all 3 of his stolen assets. When he goes back to the dream world, which is called the Dreaming, his kingdom has essentially crumbled away simply due to the fact that he wasn't there to keep everything in check. And some dreams and nightmares have fled, others have like abandoned their posts, and so he has to try and correct everything and go through that whole process of restoring his kingdom and also reacquiring his stolen possessions. And that's what the season 1 is primarily about. Now, let's get into the good of the season. Let me tell you straight off the bat, yeah? We're going to break this into 2 parts because this is how I feel it really is. The good is from episode 1 to episode 5. The first half of the first season is all good to me. I think the premise was amazing, but I also feel visually how they were able to put it together was actually quite good. When you take a comic book and you adapt it to the big screen, that is hard in and of itself. But when you adapt it for the small screen, again, you always feel the constraints of budget. But I feel like because like we're in a new era, because TV is now like the new frontier and where you can make stuff of movie level quality, but in a show, that has changed the dynamic and the landscape to a point of where we're seeing a lot of amazing shows. And I have to say that I feel the one that started all of this was Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was the first show that was so in-depth and was so rich in how it looked and even what it presented that you forgot it was a show. And now, due to that, other shows that people believe or what the companies believe can bring in big money, they're willing to put money behind it to get it to that point. So, with all that being said, yeah, I thought the acting was phenomenal. I felt the actor who they had as Death, he to me is the embodiment of how Death acts, looks, moves. Because in the comic book, he's like extremely skinny, pale, but he's got like that old school wild rocker look, kind of like the Crow in the comic books. Trying to maintain that same look in the modern age, not so much. It wouldn't really translate well. But I feel like they struck the right balance with this one. They did visually, like he looked like Death. And even reading the comic books, and even when I envisioned Death, I always envisioned Death's voice being something like a whisper. That's something what this character and this actor is able to bring. He never shouts. He literally always just whispers, but there's so much power and cadence in his voice. And I think it's it's only a testament to the actor himself. When it came to the plot, the pacing, and like the world building within the first 5 episodes, amazing. When he has to go and collect each one of his items and the trial that's involved in him collecting the items and what we learn about death in the process. Sorry, not death, what we learn about Morpheus during the process. Again, it's so cool. I'm jumping around a lot, but it is what it is. There is an episode when he's basically going to collect his helm because his helm is in hell due to the fact that somebody that possessed his helm traded it with a demon for a protection charm. He has to go into hell to get his helm back. And while he's going into hell, he comes across a woman who is trapped in hell. We come to find out that she was a queen of a pre-African civilization, but then she was also Morpheus's lover. But it's during that interaction with one another, you see that the way she sees Morpheus is not the way we see Morpheus, because from her perspective, Morpheus is a black man with dreadlocks. And I was like, wait a minute. So is this Morpheus's original form, or is this a case of where each person perceives him in a different way? And so yeah, like that whole thing, it got me really interested in, I wanted to know their story, because in their conversation, she was saying that, if you can just forgive me, I won't be in hell anymore. And he answered by saying, yes, I know, but I still can't forgive you. So I was thinking to myself, okay, I want to see what that story is about. Even his interaction with Lucifer, I thought was really good. I think it actually has Brienne of Tarth. I've forgotten the actress's name, but the actress that played Brienne of Tarth is Lucifer in this, and she does an amazing job. Even the confrontation, or like the battle that they had to decide who would get the helm, was very interesting. I think it was even much better than how it was portrayed in the comic book, because in the comic book they go back and forth and like they become different things. It was really cool to see how they visually showed it. They displayed their powers but using imagination. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Again, there's so much in the first half of this season, episodes 1 to 5, which was just chock full with amazing characters, amazing plot elements, and world building. I will say that the introduction of certain characters, i.e. Death and Desire, but more so Desire for me, because Desire was literally there. I thought that was Lady Gaga for a second until I realized it was a man. Desire is one of Morpheus's siblings, along with Death, and then there's Despair, and then there's Destiny and Fate. I think that's all of them. I might have missed out one, or I might have added one. Doesn't matter. Go research for yourself and let me know in the comments. I thought that was really cool. Really good. I really like that. Now, let's get into the bad. From episode 5 onwards, it fell off. The reason being is because in the first 5 episodes, he literally gets all the items that he was looking for. So much so that it kind of felt a bit hollow, because it's like they've done everything that they had to do now, but they still have another 5 more episodes, so like they don't really know where to go from here. That's how it felt to me anyway. And as well, even the way certain things got resolved, somebody had his gem, and even what they did with the gem and how they were able to do what they did with the gem, it's never explained. And again, it's like, oh, I would like to find that out. And that's where, again, because they had kind of wrapped up the story so quickly, you don't feel the need to explain it, but you want to know, because literally, like, you want to know. And even like with the villain, like the Corinthian, again, I thought was wasted. That whole story ends was kind of pointless, especially with the build-up that they had. And then they introduced something called a dream vortex. Again, made no sense. And I feel like that should have been something that was left for season 2. I think season 1 should have just been focused on him trying to get back all his damn possessions. And then season 2 is where you can do the dream vortex, because they do that in last minute and it didn't make any sense. They didn't explain it well enough for me. And that's another thing. The dream vortex is a character named Rose Walker. Trash. She was trash for me. Weak sauce. Her dumb brother who was getting eaten by rats in the basement. To be fair with you, I hope that the rats would have given him a shape up, just ate his hair right, but he was just looking terrible. Like, even her with her like rainbow dreads, they should have cut that off, man. It was just annoying. Her herself was a very annoying character. I didn't care anything for her. I really literally just wanted it all to be over. The second half, nah, it really wasn't it. And I feel like that kind of let down the overall story, but still has a lot of stuff which I feel like with season 2, if done properly and paced properly, it can definitely work. Yeah, we come to the verdict. I would say for Sandman, I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. The reason why I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 is because I feel like it has a lot of potential if they can just get like the pacing right. Because that's the thing. It literally felt disjointed from when they went from 1 to 5 and then from 6 to 10. It felt like I was watching two different shows. And so if they get the pacing right, then this show is definitely something to talk about. That's something which I feel like what they were afraid of. I don't think they felt that they might get a season 2. So they just decided to put whatever story they wanted to tell. They said, we're just going to do it all in one season, just in case we don't get renewed. I feel that's the reason why this kind of felt a bit disjointed. But I feel like if they had more reassurances from Netflix saying like, listen, we're going to give you 2 seasons, I feel like they would have paced season 1 more. I think they would have a bit more streamlined, and definitely they would have delved into a lot of thread points more and then used that as a springboard for season 2. As it is, I felt like they were afraid that they might not get another season. So they thought to themselves, cool, let's just put all the stuff that we wanted to put just in case we don't get a second season. All in all, I feel like the Sandman definitely has a good foundation, which if they do properly, they can create a really, really interesting and in-depth universe. Because there's a lot of characters you can literally branch off with. So it's definitely got franchise potential. Guys, that's been my review of the Sandman. Please let me know what you think. And like always, like, comment, subscribe. And like always, I will see you at the next masquerade. Peace.